I got a chance to take in Twins Fest live for the first time this last Friday. So we're going to talk about it, talk about the event, talk about some of the stuff that came out of it, and just talk about it in general, but not before we get locked on Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, and welcome back to Locked On Twins. I'm your host, Brandon Warren. You can unfollow me on the tweets at Brandon_WARNE. Joined by Mr. Dave Brown, as I'm wont to do when we are in this space. Dave, you were going through some health issues this last week, and that kind of kept us from recording. I don't know how little or how much you want to share, but I want people to know that we were not ducking them in the midst of the Twins' winter inactivity. But it's good to have you back.
Thanks. Yeah, when you say health issues, you make it sound like I, had some sort of stent put in. But no, I have, as one man would call it, pneumonia almost. It might be bronchitis. It's like borderline bronchitis, pneumonia, and I couldn't talk. So I can barely talk anyway. So that prevented me from doing shows. I'm feeling better, though. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. So, again, thanks everyone, too, for checking us out. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. And we appreciate you making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Also, too, want to remind you to be active in the discussion when we're premiering on YouTube, or even just leave comments under the YouTube videos. And I love to go back and see what people are saying. We had it was funny. Greg Masterson messaged me and he said, "Have you seen the comments on your video today?" And I laughed because I had just looked at them. This was about a week ago, and I don't know if you saw it, but there were 16 comments, and it was a bunch of people. And I say people in quotation marks because it was bots. I think it was bots. Yeah, talking about, I don't know if it was investments or what it was, but it was pretty comical. And so I'll have to check out and see if that actually helps the algorithm and makes it seem like someone is actually replying to our stuff. Which again,
I hope nobody makes investments based on things that they've seen in our comments. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, but outside of doing reads for select quote and all that, I think we should probably say no advice given on this show herein or in the comments is endorsed by Locked On Twins. That's probably a good thing to certify and testify at this point. By the way, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. We can get on board with that. Gametime wants you to download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, Gametime is the place to be. Get your tickets for any number of things. Timberwolves in town a bit here. Wild, for whatever reason, can't seem to play well at home, but still recommend going out there. The XL Energy Center is pretty cool. Speaking of things you need tickets for, Twins Fest Live was Friday at the Fillmore. And Dave, when's the last time you were at Target Field?
I think it was 2022. I think it was 2. It might have been 3. I know it was a White Sox game and the Twins won, not surprisingly. It might have been 23.
So I've been to Target Field, but I hadn't been to like the side of the field where the light rail runs, which is outside the left field fence.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Fillmore, similar vein of the famous venue for, I think Cypress Hill had a show at the one out in California that.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so that's literally adjacent to Target Field. You walk past where there used to be a Caribou Coffee that's not there anymore. Basically, the train line ends there, and it's just a couple more steps to the Fillmore. And that whole area has just blown up in how it's put together since the last time I'd been on that side. That used to be where I would go into the stadium. The main security for like operations staff, like front office staff is there. And so I had a pass. I could get through there. And that used to be a train and a bunch of industrial area. And, it's kind of cut out. And then there's the train, the North Star train that actually comes out towards by where I live. So you can, switch trains if you're coming in from out of the city and then get in on the light rail. Whatever. Anyway, now they have that big apartment building that sprouts up above the Budweiser roof deck to where you can watch the game from the higher floors. And in fact, I know that.
Is that where Austin Martin lives?
Yeah, Austin Martin lived or lives in there. Did last year anyhow, which was kind of funny because if you go down to St. Paul and you're living there, you could ride the train, but you'd much rather be working across the street than across town.
Sure.
But that has popped up since I've been on that side of the stadium. There's a little kind of cove there that you can drive in as like a loop. And there was a restaurant called like Salt and Flour and a couple other like boutiques and a very fancy looking area. So I was just really impressed. But I had not been to the Fillmore yet. And I'd been to Twins Fest proper. I mean, I've been going to that since the Metrodome days. You know, when I don't know, have you ever seen what that looked like?
Yes, I have seen like wide shots of the whole. I don't know if it was the whole field, but
it was
portion of it.
Basically, it was the whole field, and like the infield, they'd put up a little thing for kids to hit, and like they'd have like staffers throwing them wiffle balls. And then the left field would be like a place where you could get a hot dog and grab a bite. They'd have a stage set up for media, for the radio, and then autograph stations and little shops and all that fun stuff. And then they'd also have autograph stations around the outer loop of the stadium, the concourse. So they were using like every spare inch of the Metrodome, and they've kind of scaled it down at Target Field. I think both by necessity of space, but also to now simple capitalism. They can allow fewer people in, charge more money. Like the Joe Mauer autograph stand was $125, which you know, a very certain prominent bald Twins blogger was complaining about it, and it's like, well, yeah, bro, you're not going there to resell these things. You're going there because you want to meet Joe Mauer, and you know, he was with another person or two, I think. I don't remember for sure. Twins Fest. I haven't been to Twins Fest since 2020, and in fact, those pictures came up in my memory, and it was me standing next to Rich Hill because that was the year he was with the Twins, and then there's Sid Hartman sitting in his wheelchair with his handler, and he's holding. And the comment was from Chris Miller from the Star Tribune. He said, "Why is Sid holding a gift card to Murray's Steakhouse?" And so he was like handing them out to players, like new players and stuff, to kind of be like, you know what, make sure keep these wheels greased, these palms greased, you know, the new guys. And he gave one to Mitch Garver. He's like, "Oh, you're looking pretty thin. You gotta go get yourself a steak." And Mitch just kind of had a funny smile on his face. And that was Sid, let's see, about a month and a half shy of turning 100, and he died later that year. You know, COVID kind of took him off the circuit, and you know, once you stop working, you stop living. I think that's what happened.
So this was scaled back.
Wow. So that was already scaled back from the Metrodome days.
Yeah.
To where it was the concourse at Target Field, and you had you know, you could go upstairs to the Legends Club, and they had a few things and all that. And it seems to me they may have scaled it back even further to where now it's not multiple days; it's Signature Saturday, right. And that's where and all the money goes to the community fund. So it's not like the poll ads are you know, in the back going robble like your your tweet the other day, which cracked me up. I'm not saying they don't make any money off it because I don't know if that's true or not, but it's to benefit the community fund too. So it's not. There's a lot of
the Fillmore is like an older music venue, kind of a place, a theater.
Oh, it's a new building. It's an older concept, but it's a newer building. So they've turned to Signature Saturday, and so Friday night they do this thing called Twins Fest Live with an exclamation point to make sure you know it's people who are alive. And I have a friend who I went to high school with and who actually lives way up in the northwest corner of the state and has season tickets, which is crazy because it's a 7-hour drive. And he messages me and he says, "Hey, any interest in going to this?" And you know, he had 2 tickets. And he said, "My whole family's got the flu. We're not going to be able to go." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll, you know, at the worst, I say I can go. I'll take them. And if I can't go, I can't go." And so it's like a limited capacity. And it's in this music venue. You come in, you scan your ticket, whatever. They check you for ticks and for, you know, keys and knives and all that fun stuff. And then you're in basically this, like an auditorium, kind of like a concert hall. And then there are places you can go up the steps. And then there's a wraparound, like sit down area that in previous years I was told was for VIPs. And this year they had like the athletes and the front office staff and the families up there. And so that was where they would go when they weren't down milling around with the fans. And it was a limited number. My friend Robert and I were trying to figure out, we figured maybe 500 total tickets sold, but it might even been less than that. It was not packed like a lot of these events are, which was nice because it gives you unprecedented access to a lot of different guys. And
what did a ticket cost?
Well, so I don't know, because by the time I got the ticket, it had been like a comp to a season ticket holder.
Okay.
Transferred to me through the ballpark app. And so I'm not certain. And they were so far sold out by then that you couldn't even go look for a point of reference. I'm sure if you asked around, because there were a few fans that I had known through, interactions at games or online, I could have probably asked one of them. I just didn't even think about it. My gut says 35, 45, $50 maybe.
Okay.
And
you're thinking there were 500 fans?
At the most, maybe closer to 300. And it was a lot to take in, just, walking in. Actually, you know what? We only have one scheduled break as far as ads that we're going to read for this episode. So why don't we do that? And then we'll just roll through here with me just kind of setting the scene and you asking questions, because it was a pretty eye-opening experience, and I think I would definitely go again. But I had some dumb luck that made it a really fun night. So we'll talk about that and a few other things when we come back. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. And one of my favorite memories was attending a concert just this last year. The energy and excitement were unforgettable at US Bank Stadium when I saw Metallica. Mammoth open for them. It was incredible. Gametime has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Gametime Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I was looking for tickets to an upcoming Timberwolves game using the Gametime app. With Gametime Picks, I found amazing deals and could even see the view from my seat before I bought. Plus, the super deal was particularly impressive, offering great seats at unbeatable prices. Plus, the app's all-in pricing shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. So we walked into the venue, Dave Brown, and you're just kind of blown away by the spectacle of it, because they've got these boards up with these little lights, and it's the best way I could explain it is with the way pro wrestling works now, where they have the picture boards on the sides when you come out. It's not the big Tron with the video, but it's little light bulbs that make a design, and it said Twins Fest and whatever, really cool. And they weren't that huge, they're probably 8 feet tall or whatever, but they were short, and it was Twins Fest 2025 live, whatever. And there's that, and then there's a DJ up front spinning whatever he does, and chairs set up.
That's what made you.
No, he's otherwise occupied for now. And then so there's music going, and there's a stand off to the left with popcorn and Cracker Jacks, and then behind that there was a spot to get drinks and hot dogs and stuff. And I made the mistake of not eating before I came. I ran out of time getting ready, and then I didn't eat while I was there. So I got home at 10:30, and I was just dying. So that was something I would recommend eating before, unless you're willing to eat ballpark food. There's a company called Unreal in St. Paul that does sweatshirts and stuff. It's UNRL. You may see ads for them now because they're kind of branching out with the guy who played Shooter McGavin on Happy Gilmore has been doing commercials for them, but it's really good stuff. Sometimes you'll even see me wearing them during shows. But they were doing twin sweaters, and for whatever reason, I didn't buy one. And my wife's like, well, why didn't you? Because they're limited edition, and they're really nice. And they're getting into the Twins game. They've been big on the Vikings side of things. And but anyway, so there was that, and then a couple places to get beers and stuff. And then it was just kind of taking in what exactly you're looking at in a brand new building, all these lights and everything. And then serendipitously, I saw, well, it wasn't serendipitous to see John Bonus from Twins Daily, shook hands, talked for a minute, walked past.
Like a nice guy.
What's that?
He seems like a very nice guy.
Yes. And then Dan Hayes was at the back with Betsy Helfand of the Pioneer Press, and they were talking to, I think one of the, I don't know how to describe the person. Like, she works for the organization, but I wonder if she's not like some kind of hospitality. Like, she's not a younger lady, and I wonder if she works with like family, like player families and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they were talking. I just said hi because I hadn't seen either of those two people in 5 years, since before COVID. And then we started leaning up against this railing at the back of the room, and it was the steps upstairs and the steps to the VIP area. And I didn't really think about it much, but that ended up being where every single person walked past to go upstairs. So we had like unparalleled access to every single player person that walked by. And so, like, I got to say hi to Corey Provis, got to say hi. Like, Rocco Baldelli and I talked for like 3-4 minutes, and he's just like, "Where you been?" You know, I'm like, "Well, taking care of my babies, you know, putting them to bed at night and stuff." He's like, "Dude, that's what it's all about." He says, "You're doing the right thing." And it was just so fun. Buxton's like, "What up, B? Haven't seen you in a while." Like, it was so interesting to see guys who remembered me from 5 years ago. And
you make an impression.
It's kind of nice. It was kind of nice.
How many were all the players there?
So they, at the beginning, so the event started at 7, but they opened the doors at 6. And then I think we filtered out about 9:15, 9:30. It was officially ended at 9. They started taking stuff down. But about 10 after 7, quarter after, and we're still standing at the back when they introduce Corey Provis and Chris Atterbury, the radio guy that took over for Corey Provis. And they're doing like, they work the crowd a little bit, and then they're like, "All right, we should tell you who the 2025 Twins are." And they start introducing guys. And I'm trying to think, Royce Lewis wasn't part of it. Carlos Correa wasn't part of it. But pretty much everyone else. I mean, no Christian Vasquez, no Chris Paddock, which, you know, I think it was kind of like Jorge Polanco last year. Where,
are they worried that they're going to be traded?
Yeah, I think that's maybe it. But they introduced, you know, a bunch of rookies, and this guy's got a new number this year because it's Brooks Lee has a new number, Austin Martin has a new number.
Oh, really? Now you're burying the lead.
Yeah, exactly. And so then at the end it was Byron Buxton. So it was kind of like a inverted pyramid, or no, a regular pyramid probably. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the journalism thing where you put the most important stuff at the front. They did the opposite. So
did space aliens build the inverted pyramid?
Anyway, Buxton was last, and so I was like, "Oh, okay." You know, they introduced them all, and some of them had their own little music to walk out to, and it was just kind of cool. You know, Willie Castro had what did he have? He had an individual song that was kind of funny, but anyhow, that's when kind of branched out, and you know, hanging out at the back, we didn't really pay a lot of attention to the stage, but they were doing kind of funny games with, like, you know, first Rocco answered some questions from. I think it was Atterbury and Provis, and then Buxton did. And then they started going into like the kind of things you would do if you were going to youth group as a kid, like what they called the mixers, where you're like,
"Yes,
oh, we're going to throw Oreos from across the room and see who can catch them in their mouth. Ha, ha, ha." And they did a few things like that. And it's not really my type of thing anyway. So we just kind of posted up and kind of intercepted people as they came through. And that was actually the highlight. That, and then Aiden, who's been on the show a couple times in your absence, goes by MVP Prelip or MV Prelip. I don't know. I asked him how to say it. He doesn't even know. And so anyway, he
Isn't
and
Prelip?
yeah. And then user Prime Plouffe, who actually went to the same college as me. We talked to them for most of the night, and it was pretty cool. And
who was
beyond that, you know,
the player that you got a picture with?
What's that?
You got a picture with somebody.
Matt Cantorino, who wants to come on the show, by the way. I think you had tweeted me about that. I don't know. He was super nice. And I was like, you know, if I don't take a picture with somebody, you know, it's just not really my thing. You know, I've covered these guys. I'm not trying to put it as like a profile picture. If I don't, I don't know. It's a weird flex because I've had access to these guys before. And so, you know, it's kind of frowned upon to glad hand them. Actually, it's not frowned upon. It's just not what you do if you're in the media and that sort of thing. But I was like, you know, I'm not here on a press pass. I'm just here as a fan. And so I don't know. He seemed like the right one. And yeah, he said he'd be on the show. So coming soon to a Locked On Twins near you is
good. I look forward to
Matt Cantorino. But also, I apologize to Mickey Gasper.
For?
Well, so Josh Kusnick, I'm sure you're very well aware of Josh Kusnick, especially after this last winter meetings. He's a hoot and a half. Well, so anyway, the Twins completed that trade for Mickey right around Christmas time. And so he said, Josh texted me. He's like, this is Mickey Gasper's number. Text him, see if you can get him on the show. And I'm like, I would never be a good salesman because I don't like cold calling and I don't like doing that to players. And so anyway, I texted just like, hey,
how'd you get this number?
Well, so I said, congratulations on joining the Twins. And above all, that's all I'm trying to say. But if you would like to be on the show, this is what we do. Whatever. Didn't hear anything. Didn't expect to. Anyway, he's standing at the back by this player photograph station. And he's just kind of talking to these two guys. So I kind of mosey over there and, they walk away and he looks at me. I said, listen, man, I got to apologize. And he kind of looked weird at me in his kind of looking like Super Mario way and said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, first of all, I texted you unsolicited. And he's like, what? And he's like, oh, yeah, no, I remember that now. I remember thinking, like, who is this? How'd they get this number? Is this real? And then I explained that Josh Kusnick gave me his number. He's like, you should have said that right away. And I said, here's the deal. Telling people you got their number from Josh Kusnick can cut one of two ways.
That's a risky move.
That's a risky move. And also you protect your sources in this industry. And so it was like, do I tell him I got it from Josh?
Well, you kind of just blurted out one of your sources.
Right. I mean? Do I wait and see if he asks how I got it? I don't know. But anyhow, I figured, you know what? In person, nothing wagered, nothing lost. Yeah. And he's like, oh, if you would have told me that, I'd love to be on the show. So he's going to come on too. At some point, I got to text him and say, hey, this is not that weird man in the bushes. I actually have met you before.
No.
And
I mean, most things aren't mutually exclusive, Brandon.
Well, for me, I like to make them that way. But anyway, so let's talk to him. And then it was like a meet and greet. It wasn't, let's get some stuff signed. I don't think I saw a single person ask for an autograph.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was expressly prohibited, but people were just cool about it. It was, hey, can I get a picture? Hey, can I get this? And I had then a really awkward conversation with Bailey Ober where I walked over to him and like, first of all, you are absolutely shook by how tall he is.
Right.
Like, he is impossibly tall. Like they're like, oh, David Festa, the Slim Reaper, and he comes out and he's tall. And then they had
it's like you're standing next to a bear.
Well, then Brent Hedrick comes out and they're like, he's tall. And then all of a sudden it's like Bailey Ober's fee, fi, fo, fum. And you're like, wow, completely another different aura to him. But anyway, I went over to him and I'm like, how am I going to break the ice here? Because I didn't remember, he was in the organization in 2020, I guess.
Right.
I don't know if he was at Twins Fest. So I was just like, you're good. Thank you for everything. And it was so awkward.
Chris Farley. So you turned into Chris Farley.
Well, yeah, I was like, you remember when you were a rookie out of College of Charles? That was awesome. Have I ever told you the best story I have from that realm?
Remind me.
It has to do with Rocco Baldelli
when
he was with the Rays as a coach.
I don't know.
If that doesn't jog your memory, you probably haven't heard it because you're.
No, I mean you're putting me on the spot. I hate when I love to put people on the spot. And I hate to be put on the spot.
Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. Also, anyway, this was like 2016, 2017, and Rocco was first base coach for the Rays at the time. And I didn't immediately recognize him. He looks a little different from when he was a player. Not a lot, but obviously more boyish back then.
Less hair on the top.
Yeah. And so anyway, and I'd never met him as a player. But we're on the elevator after the game. And there's a lot of times where players will get on the elevator with you if they're leaving, especially, visiting players. Like I shared a elevator with John Lackey one time, and I told you, like, it was shocking how big he was. You've had a John Lackey avatar online before, and you explained that he's kind of a scary dude anyway. So that was one kind of like a, whoa, John Lackey's bigger than I expected. Anyway, so I didn't immediately recognize him, but I knew it was someone from the Rays, and I kind of peeked down at the luggage tag, and it said Rocco Baldelli, and I'm like, oh, cool. I watched him playing when I was in my teen years because he's not that much older than I am. And I said, "Hey, Rocco, nice to meet you. I'm so sorry for how your career went."
Oh, yeah, I do.
And then I was like, "What are you doing, you moron?" And he smiles and he goes, "Me too." And like he couldn't have been more gracious. He couldn't have been nicer about it. And so anyway, and I don't know if there's actual footage of this from when they carried his intro press conference in 2019. But I walked over to him after and I'm like, "Hey, do you happen to remember this?" And he just laughed and said, "Yeah." I don't know if he would have put it together that it was necessarily me, but he definitely remembered the encounter and someone saying that to him. So I don't know. I mean, as awkward as it was, I had an in with the manager right away. So that was kind of cool.
So most of the players were there.
Yes.
Were there any Polads?
No, maybe with like mustaches on incognito, but
yeah.
No. And honestly, there wasn't that much of an air of like, sell the team. Because I heard at whatever they had with the White Sox, that kind of blew up, didn't it?
Reinsdorf was there. It sounds like the White Sox are doing something. They just had their Fan Fest too. And it sounds like it's parallel to the Twins. I don't know if they conferenced on this or what.
I think they call it Sox Fest Live too. Like I think
they call it Sox Fest Live, and and it was like over 2 days, and it certainly used to be a bigger event that they would have, usually in a hotel,
like a convention center or something.
Yeah, a convention center or at least a hotel with big rooms.
Yeah.
So the White Sox did something similar, and Reinsdorf was there for this one, and there was
move right there,
heckling going on. So
and
you're talking about when you limit you're talking about limiting the crowd. You're not getting that wide range of people. You're getting people who are really into the team, and then you're risking people saying stuff like that. But as far as Twins Fest goes, no Polads, no air of selling the team. Falvey or anybody like that on that level?
Apparently Falvey was behind the scenes.
Pulling the strings.
Somebody said they saw him. When you're kind of like engaging or interacting with the younger fans, they're a little more like alert for that kind of stuff. Like I used to be that way too. Like I'd go to Twins Fest and get all the young guys autographs. I don't know if you can see behind me, but like I have rows of baseballs from when I used to go. And like I have Denard Span when he was a rookie, and Corey Koski, and I'm trying to think. Like I would get the rookies because they were free. Like I got Matt Garza back when he was free, because in like 2004, 05, 06, that's when I started understanding like Baseball America prospect lists, and not all prospects at this free stand are created equally. And no, Toby Gardenhire, you cannot sign this baseball because I have this saved for Matt Garza instead of for you. So I got a lot of Toby Gardenhire and Eli Tinter autographed memorabilia that was not by design.
Oh, we have a special guest. Hello, little man.
Yeah, someone's homesick today, so he's joining in on the fun. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my little guy eating some crackers, some cheese crackers. So hey, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Can you say hi?
Hi.
This
is Dave. Hi, I'm Dave.
Anyway, man of many words here, little Curtis.
I think that's an appropriate reaction.
Yeah, very appropriate. In general,
is there like anything you can glean about? I mean, not that I was noticing any like out of shape twins, or does anybody look like they've lost weight or is already in the best shape of their life?
I thought Ryan Jeffers looked really good.
Yeah.
And this is a pivotal year for him, as far as, especially if they I kind of talked about it with it might not have been anybody like club related. It might have just been a friend, but it was like, if they trade Christian Vasquez and go with like Mickey Gasper, Jair Camargo until Diego Cartaya proves to be at least a backup catcher.
Yeah.
Like that means that Ryan Jeffers could catch 110, 112 games this year, whatever the high end is for a starting catcher, at a point where, he's a year out from free agency. I think it's after next year. That might not be the worst thing. Like, see what you have in him. It's not like you're throwing a rookie like Juan Centeno back in the day to the Wolves to have a 600 OPS and throw out 9% of runners or some hypothetical thing. you've got a guy who's played in the playoffs. You've got a guy who's hit in the big leagues, who's been a good framer, who may not be the best thrower, but in this era, I think there's more guys who are not that great at throwing than there are actually good at throwing guys out. It's not, we're not in the old, Tony Pena era where people could throw 40-45% out. And so giving Jeffers that workload to find out what you have in him is not a bad strategy. Also, too, if he can't handle it, you do have Diego Cartaya, who you need to find out if he could possibly be that guy, the next man up. So I think Jeffers, it looked to me like he had gone into this offseason and put in some work. And also, too, like just kind of asking around about the ownership thing, seems like everybody's being kept in the dark. And so don't know what that means. And again, this is all off the record, so I'm not trying to source it to anybody specifically, but anybody I talk to with any sort of level of like, I might know something, they're all just like, we really don't know anything. We're just kind of business as usual because that's all we know.
Right. Well, I mean, I really think it is kind of that's actually might be a good sign that something is close.
Yeah.
When you don't hear anything. So, and I maybe that isn't necessarily true, but I think it might be in this case.
Yeah, I think it's a no news is good news situation. Well, we're going to get out of here before 32 minutes, which is kind of nice.
Get out.
If you're in the comments or on YouTube, you should leave us a note with what you thought of Twins Fest or Twins Fest Live, or what you'd like to see if you go, or ask questions, because I'm sure I didn't cover as much ground as I would have liked. But for Dave Brown, this is Brandon Warren signing off, saying thank you for hanging out with us. We're happy to be back now that we're all feeling better. And we'll see ya
tomorrow
night.
See ya.
See ya.
He wasn't there, was he?
He was not.
Okay.
He sent a proxy.